The Tale of the Unknown Female Thief, third tale. In the past, there was a certain samurai, approximately 30 years old, tall and somewhat reddish bearded, who was known to no one. One evening, while passing near a certain place, he heard a rustling sound from behind a half open door. A voice, sounding like that of a woman, beckoned him, saying, "Come here." The man approached and asked, "Do you summon me?" The voice replied, "I have something you should hear, and although the door seems closed, it will open if you push it. Please do so and come in." Surprised but intrigued, the man pushed the door open and entered. The woman instructed him to close the door, and after he did so, she told him to come upstairs. Once inside, he was led into a room where a beautiful young woman, appearing to be around 20 years old, was waiting, exuding a clean and pleasant aura. Since there was no one else around, the two became intimate, laying down together. Even though he felt suspicious about the place, he grew closer to her, and they spent the night without realizing how time had passed. Eventually, a knock came at the door as dawn broke. With no one else present, the man went to open the door and found two armed men and a woman, accompanied by several lower class women. They entered, lighting a fire and preparing a meal served in silver dishes for both the man and the woman. The man thought it strange. How did they bring food for us, especially since I have not seen anyone else here? Yet his appetite took over, and he ate heartily. The woman also ate without reservation, as if it were an ordinary occurrence. After their meal, the group of women tidied up and then departed, leaving the man and woman alone once more. The following morning, there was another knock at the door. This time, different people entered, not the same ones as before. They busily cleaned the place and prepared congee and rice, providing food for the man and woman again before leaving. Days passed in this manner, and one day the woman asked the man, "Is there anywhere you should go for supplies?" He replied, "I should go to someone I know well and tell them what's happening." The woman insisted, "Then please hurry." After a while, a good horse with a regular saddle and three companions dressed in various colors arrived. They then went to a nearby tavern where the man was given clothing he desired. Once dressed, he mounted the horse and left with his companions, pleased with the arrangement. On his return journey, the woman said nothing but watched as he returned. There was no change in how they lived, and he still felt the same connection to her. As time went on, they lived together for nearly 20 days without any difficulties. The woman remarked to the man, "It feels like a strange stroke of fate, but it seems we must part ways. Therefore, whether in life or death, I shall not shy away from what I say." The man responded, "In truth, I will follow your heart, whether it leads to life or death." The woman smiled and began to prepare a meal, and as they usually did when they were alone, they shared a quiet moment together. However, one day the woman took out a key and instructed the man, "This key is to be used in a place beyond the sixth corner and to the north. There are several storages there. Please open the one I tell you to and take whatever you can find. There are many carts nearby, so call for one to carry what you find." Following her directions, the man went to the storages and, upon opening the instructed one, found it filled with many desired items. What a remarkable sight, he thought, as he loaded the cart according to the woman's guidance. As they lived in this manner for 1 to 2 years, the woman began to show signs of distress, often crying. The man noticed this unusual behavior and asked, "Why do you seem so troubled?" She replied, "I am just saddened by the thought of an unexpected separation." When he questioned why she thought of such things, she said, "In a world without graves, such feelings arise." The man dismissed her concerns and resumed his usual life, going out as he had before. The companions they rode with, too, wondered if they would return to their usual lives. One day, as they prepared to leave, the man realized that the woman had vanished without a trace. He searched for her, but found nothing, and the house was gone. Surprised and suspicious, he sought out someone he knew and confided in them. His heart was troubled, realizing he had been living a life of theft, and he found himself arrested for it. When questioned, he recounted everything that had happened. This is indeed a curious tale. It is said that the woman was perhaps a supernatural being. Within a few days, the house and the storages disappeared without a trace, a rare occurrence indeed. Furthermore, some wealth and companions vanished with her, and they were never heard from again, which is quite extraordinary. Even while living at that house for several years, he never recognized anyone he met, and he only had one encounter with a person who seemed to resemble his wife, a strange coincidence. Such is the tale of the rare and unusual events which have been passed down through the ages. The Hidden Man and His Journey. Once upon a time, there was a person named Clark. Left without parents, he pondered, "What shall I do with my life?" Troubled and without a wife, he thought, "I would like to find a suitable partner." As he sought one out, someone told him, "There is a woman who lives alone without family and lives comfortably." After inquiring, he borrowed her and eventually met her. Upon visiting the woman's house, he saw that it was a well-constructed, pleasant home. The lady had about 7 or 8 young maidens accompanying her. All were dressed in fine clothing, even the simpler garments showing youthful elegance, indicating affluence. Although they seemed to possess little in material wealth, the man and his attendants wore fine attire. They had carriages to their liking, and seeing this made him feel as if Buddha and the gods must be aiding us. He rejoiced, and as the months passed, his wife became pregnant and showed signs of distress. As spring progressed, 2 tall women came to assist his wife during childbirth. Lying there, anxious thoughts crossed his mind. What if there are dangers when the child is born? As he continued to think, the wife beside him got up, leading him to believe she must have understood my feelings and gotten up. At that moment, from the north, someone approached, carrying an unusual appearance. As this figure drew near, they opened a paper barrier, prompting the man to think, "Who is opening this?" Peeking out, he saw someone in a crimson garment with beautifully dyed sleeves. Startled, he thought, "Surely a thief has entered my home." Quickly reaching for his sword, he called out, "Who are you? Is anyone there?" His wife, frightened, lay down, drenched in sweat. Hearing her distress, the figure approached and said, "Please do not be afraid. I am not someone to frighten you. Your body is what makes you fearful, but if you hear me out, you might feel pity." The figure then wept bitterly. Seeing his wife also in distress, the man felt confused and asked, "What is going on? Who has entered and said this?" He feared that this person might be a thief or a murderer. However, the figure's demeanor seemed to contradict this, as they continued to weep. The figure explained, "Although I know my presence may be troublesome to you, there is something that must not remain hidden. This woman I speak of is my only daughter. Without her mother, I implore you to understand my sorrow. If you choose to send her away, it would not be right for you. I would bear great resentment. If you accept my words, I assure you she will be safe with you." The man listened, trying to comprehend this unexpected visitor. He thought deeply. What am I to do? Seeing his wife's tears, he realized he had to make a choice. He thought, life is more precious than all else. If I send her away, it might lead to our death. He felt torn between his fear and the desire to keep his wife safe. He contemplated his decision, wondering if it would be wise to ask for help, while also thinking that whatever had transpired might just be gossip. Realizing the danger he faced, he decided, I cannot let this person leave. Taking the keys he had been given, he opened the treasure store to find it filled to the brim. He gathered the valuables, and as dusk settled, a piece of fine paper was brought to him, inscribed with a strange message. After reading the unsettling note, he thought it best not to disregard the strange happenings around him. He claimed the treasures and ruled over the land in Omi without hesitation. The man, who had once been an ordinary person, was now part of a larger scheme, unaware of the deeper designs at play. Eventually, he discovered that these riches and his sudden fortune were not merely chance, but rather an intricate plot he had unwittingly become part of. Thus, the story has been passed down. Title: The Thief and the Sage. Once upon a time, there was a monk with great virtue living in a prosperous household. He enjoyed an abundance of comforts, but soon after, strange occurrences began to unfold in his home. To investigate these omens, he sent a messenger to Kamo no Tadayuki, a practitioner of Onmyodo, a form of Japanese esoteric cosmology, to inquire about the fortune related to these disturbances. The fortune teller foretold, on such and such a day, observe strict taboos. A thief will come and his actions may lead to death. Greatly troubled by this prediction, the monk closed his gates, allowing no one to enter, and observed the taboos with utmost seriousness. As the day of the taboos arrived, someone knocked on his door during the evening. Afraid to respond, he remained silent. The knocking continued, and a voice called out, "Who is it? It is a time of strict taboo." The voice replied, "It is Tadayuki of the Taira clan returning from Mutsu province." Tadayuki was a close friend of the monk, and he had often conversed with him. Hearing Tadayuki's voice, the monk pondered, "If it is Tadayuki, we must let him in. How could we send him away?" With that thought, the monk hesitated for a moment before deciding, "Since it is indeed you, please enter. Return your retainers and companions." Tadayuki agreed and entered, sending his horses and retainers away. The monk continued, "It is still taboo here. Why did you come? I shall remain here tonight and will not return home. Let us meet tomorrow morning." So Tadayuki stayed in the monk's residence, ate, and prepared to rest. As he lay there, he thought, "It is likely past midnight." Suddenly, he heard a noise at the door. Could this be a thief? He wondered, and he quietly moved towards the corner to conceal himself. The supposed thief opened the door with a sword in hand and cautiously entered, making his way to the south side of the room. Not wanting to disturb the items laid out, the thief insisted, "There must be something of value here. I shall force my way in." However, Tadayuki, concealed nearby, thought, "If a thief breaks in, the monk may be killed. I must shoot before he enters." But as the thief approached, Tadayuki felt uneasy, yet thought, "What else can I do?" With that resolve, he drew his arrow and shot the thief from behind. Afterward, he said, "I will shoot from behind." He instructed the incapacitated thief, "Flee," and shot the second thief who was closer to him. Then he told his companion, "Now flee, we must go," and drew him into the inner room where both fell to the ground. Afterward, Tadayuki from within the room continued shooting arrows. The remaining thieves fled toward the gate. As they stumbled, he shot 3 of them at the entrance. Out of 10 thieves, those who remained fled in haste, not knowing where to run. Thus, 4 were shot down in the garden. One other, having run several hundred meters away, was struck in the waist by an arrow and could not escape, collapsing into a ditch. When dawn broke, they questioned the remaining thief, and thus they captured those nearby. Thus, wise Tadayuki saved the life of the monk. It is said, had the taboos not been so strictly observed, the monk would have surely been killed. Thus, the story has been passed down.